Welcome back to Coin Tool. Today we're diving deep into the fascinating world of coin collecting, and specifically focusing on the often overlooked but surprisingly valuable 1980 Lincoln 1-cent penny. That's right, a coin most people wouldn't think twice about could be worth way more than just a single cent. So if you've got some old change lying around or a dusty coin jar in the corner of your room, this is a video you do not want to miss. Let's kick things off with a little background on this coin. The 1980 Lincoln penny features the iconic image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse or front side. This design was first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The designer was Victor David Brenner, and this design has stood the test of time for well over a century. By 1980, the coin was still being struck with this same classic portrait, but with some subtle variations and changes in composition over the years. Now, what makes the 1980 penny stand out is not necessarily its age. I mean, let's face it, a coin from 1980 doesn't sound that old. But what collectors and experts have discovered is that some versions of the 1980 Lincoln cent carry unique features and errors that can fetch some serious cash in the collector market. Before we get into those details, let's talk about the basic mintage. In 1980, the United States Mint produced the Lincoln penny at 3 different locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Pennies from Philadelphia have no mint mark, pennies from Denver have a small D mint mark, and those from San Francisco usually come as proof coins and have an S mint mark. Here's where things start to get interesting. The total number of Lincoln cents minted in 1980 is staggering. Over 7 billion coins were produced at the Philadelphia Mint and over 5 billion at the Denver Mint. So yes, the coin is technically common, but the devil is in the details. Some 1980 pennies, especially those from the Philadelphia Mint, were struck with minor to severe mint errors. These include off-center strikes, double dies, die cracks, and even transitional planchet errors. These are the coins that collectors are hunting for and paying top dollar to add to their collections. Let's talk about a few specific error examples that have sold for impressive prices. A 1980 Lincoln penny with a dramatic off-center strike, say around 50% off, can sell for anywhere from $50 to a couple $100 depending on condition and demand. If you come across a 1980 penny with a double die obverse, which means the lettering or the date looks like it's been stamped twice slightly off, that can significantly boost its value. In top condition, such a coin could be worth several $100s. Then, there are the proof pennies struck in San Francisco. These are typically mirror-like in finish, and were not meant for general circulation. A proof 1980s Lincoln penny in perfect proof 70 condition can sell for $20 or more. Not a fortune, but still a big return for a 1-cent coin. Now let's move on to the materials. In 1980, all Lincoln cents were still made from 95% copper and 5% zinc. That's important because copper has its own intrinsic value. In fact, if you were to melt a 1980 penny down for its copper today, which by the way is illegal in the United States, the metal alone would be worth about 2 to 3 cents. So the base metal value is already higher than its face value. But again, we're not just talking about metal. We're talking about collectible value. And this is where coin grading comes into play. If you find a 1980 penny in absolutely pristine condition, we're talking mint state grades like MS65, MS66, or even higher, it could be worth much more than you'd expect. For example, an MS67 red 1980 penny from the Philadelphia Mint has been known to sell at auction for over $1,000. Yes, you heard that right. A single penny selling for more than $1,000 simply because it's in near perfect condition and incredibly rare in that state. So condition really is everything in coin collecting. Let's also talk briefly about how you can check your own 1980 pennies. First, grab a magnifying glass and look closely at the coin. Check the date and mint mark. Look for any doubling in the letters, especially in Liberty or In God We Trust. Then check the rim. Is there a full clean strike, or does it look off-center or misaligned? Any unusual marks could point to a valuable error. If you think you have a special coin, the best next step is to have it graded by a reputable third-party grading company like PCGS or NGC. They'll authenticate the coin and give it a grade which can dramatically increase its market value. Now, in terms of current market trends, the interest in copper-era Lincoln pennies continues to grow. Collectors, especially younger ones, are becoming more aware of just how much hidden value might be sitting in old change jars or inherited coin collections. With inflation on the rise and more people turning to physical assets for investment, collectible coins like the 1980 penny are seeing a new wave of popularity. So let's recap. Yes, the 1980 Lincoln penny is still technically worth just 1 cent in circulation. But if you have one in mint state or with a rare mint error, it could be worth anywhere from a few dollars to several hundred or even $1,000. Add in the fact that it's a copper coin and has intrinsic metal value, and you've got even more reason to hang on to it. And let's not forget the historical aspect. This is a coin that bears the image of one of America's greatest presidents and has been in the hands of millions of people. Whether you're collecting for fun, for investment, or just for nostalgia, the 1980 Lincoln penny is a small piece of American history that could be worth a lot more than you think. So go check your piggy banks, your drawers, your old jars, and your pocket change. You might just be holding on to a tiny copper treasure. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 1980 Lincoln penny, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss our next video on rare and valuable coins. And hey, if you've got a cool coin story or you think you found something special, drop it in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy collecting. Today we're diving deep into one of the most overlooked yet fascinating coins in American history, the 1980 Lincoln 1-cent penny. You might think it's just a regular old coin from your change jar, but hold on, because some of these coins are worth way more than just 1 cent. So whether you're a coin collector, a history buff, or just curious if you've got hidden treasure in your pocket, you're in for a treat. Stick around as we break down the history, value, rare errors, and current market prices of the 1980 penny. Alright, let's start with a little history. The 1980 Lincoln penny was minted in Denver, as indicated by the small d mint mark under the date. This coin features the iconic image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, or front, designed by Victor David Brenner. His design has been on the penny since 1909, commemorating the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. On the reverse side of the coin in 1980, you'll see the Lincoln Memorial, a design that started in 1959 to mark Lincoln's 150th birthday. Now here's where things get interesting. The 1980 penny was made during a time of transition. Copper was getting expensive, and the U.S. Mint was testing out new materials. So while most of the 1980 pennies were struck in a bronze alloy made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, later in the year the Mint was moving toward a composition of 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper. That's the copper-plated zinc penny you see today. But officially, the full transition didn't happen until mid-1982. That means your 1980 penny is still likely to be a copper-based coin. Here's something to remember. The copper content alone in one of these pennies makes it worth more than face value. With copper prices always fluctuating, a single 1980 penny can be worth 2 to 3 cents just for its metal. But that's not where the real value lies. Collectors are on the hunt for high-quality specimens. That means uncirculated coins, coins with sharp detail, strong luster, and most importantly, coins that show no signs of wear. If you've got a 1980 penny in mint state, especially graded MS65 or higher, the value can jump significantly. Let's talk numbers. A 1980 Lincoln cent in average circulated condition is worth about 1 to 5 cents. Nothing too special. but coins in uncirculated condition can sell for around $1 to $5. And if you've got a coin graded MS67 red, which is a very high grade with vibrant red luster, the value can soar. We're talking $20 to $50 or more depending on the demand and quality. In fact, the highest known auction record for a 1980 penny graded MS67 red by PCGS sold for around $115. That's right, a 1-cent coin sold for over $100. And that's not even counting error coins. Now let's shift gears and talk about errors, the real treasure trove. Error coins are highly collectible and can bring in big bucks if you know what to look for. Some of the errors reported on 1980 pennies include off-center strikes, double dies, and clipped planchets. A double die obverse, where parts of the lettering or date appear doubled, can easily bring in $30 to $50 or more depending on the severity and demand. Off-center errors can range from $10 to over $100 depending on how dramatic the strike is. The more off-center the coin is, while still showing a full date and mint mark, the more valuable it becomes. You might be wondering, how can I tell if I've got a valuable coin? First, pull out a magnifying glass and look at the coin under good lighting. Check the date and mint mark. Examine Lincoln's face, the lettering, and the memorial on the reverse. Look for any unusual marks, doubling, or misalignments. Next, weigh the coin. A copper 1980 penny should weigh about 3.11 grams. If it's significantly lighter, it might be struck on a zinc planchet by mistake, and that's another valuable error. Any anomaly could mean big money, so don't overlook even the smallest oddity. So where can you sell these coins? If you think you've got something special, consider getting it graded by a professional coin grading service like PCGS or NGC. Once graded, these coins tend to sell for much more in the open market. You can list them on eBay, visit local coin dealers, or bring them to coin shows to get a fair appraisal. There's a strong collector base for Lincoln cents, and the 1980 is no exception. Let's do a quick recap. The 1980 Lincoln penny is made mostly of copper, making it worth more than face value for the metal alone. In mint condition, especially with that rich red luster, these coins can fetch $10 to $50 or more. With rare errors or top grades, the value can climb even higher, sometimes over $100. And if you've got one in a jar somewhere, it might be worth checking out. You never know when you're sitting on hidden treasure. So there you have it, the story behind the 1980 penny. A small piece of American history that might just be worth a whole lot more than you thought. If you found this video helpful or interesting, smash that like button and subscribe for more coin collecting tips, values, and hidden gems. Drop a comment below if you found a cool 1980 penny or have a coin question you'd like me to cover. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy collecting. Today we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating and valuable pennies you might just have sitting in your pocket or tucked away in a coin jar somewhere. We're talking about the legendary 1982 Lincoln 1-cent penny. This seemingly ordinary coin has an extraordinary story behind it, and believe it or not, some versions of this coin are worth a lot more than just 1 cent. In fact, certain 1982 pennies can be worth hundreds and even thousands of dollars. So if you have a few pennies lying around, you're definitely going to want to stick around for this one. Let's kick things off with a little bit of history. The Lincoln cent has been around since 1909, when it was first introduced to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. It was the first time a real person appeared on a regular issue U.S. coin, and the design, by Victor David Brenner, quickly became iconic. For decades, the penny was made primarily of copper, but by the early 1980s, the cost of copper had risen significantly. In fact, it was becoming more expensive to make the penny than the coin was actually worth. That's where 1982 comes in. The year 1982 was a transitional year for the Lincoln penny, and this is where things start to get interesting. Before this year, all Lincoln cents were made of 95% copper and 5% zinc. But in 1982, the U.S. Mint made a big change. To cut costs, they began producing pennies with a composition of 97.5% zinc and only 2.5% copper in the form of a thin plating. So during this year, the Mint actually produced both copper and zinc pennies. And they did so using multiple different dyes and designs, which resulted in a total of 7 different varieties of 1982 pennies. That's right. There are 7 known varieties of the 1982 Lincoln cent, and collectors go crazy for them. The variations include large date and small date designs, as well as the 2 different metal compositions. So we have 1982 large date copper, 1982 small date copper, 1982 large date zinc, 1982 small date zinc, and the same split across Denver minted coins with the D mint mark. But there's one more variety that makes this story even more exciting. In 1983, the U.S. Mint had fully transitioned to zinc pennies, but at least one 1983 penny was accidentally struck on a leftover copper planchet from 1982, and it sold for tens of thousands of dollars. But here's the twist. A very rare version of the 1982 small date penny struck in copper has been found, and it's believed to be a transitional error that wasn't supposed to exist. This coin has become one of the holy grails for modern coin collectors. If you have a 1982 small date penny that is made of copper, you could be looking at a small fortune. So, how do you tell what type of 1982 penny you have? Well, the first step is to weigh it. A genuine copper penny weighs about 3.11 grams, while a zinc penny weighs only 2.5 grams. A basic digital scale that can measure to the hundredth of a gram is all you need to check this. If your 1982 penny weighs over 3 grams, and it has the small date design, you might have something really special. Next up, let's talk about current market values. Common 1982 pennies that are zinc and have no rare features are generally only worth face value. However, even the copper versions are worth more than 1 cent just because of the metal value and collector interest. But it's those rare varieties that really bring in the big bucks. A verified 1982 small date copper penny in great condition has been known to sell for over $18,000 at auction. Even circulated versions can sell for several hundred to a few $1,000s depending on condition. Collectors are especially interested in high-grade coins with minimal wear and strong detail. A coin graded MS65 or higher by PSGS or NGC can fetch a premium. So if you suspect you have one of these rare coins, it's a good idea to get it professionally graded. Also look out for error coins from 1982. Off-center strikes, double dies, and other minting errors can also significantly raise the value. Some of these errors combined with a rare metal composition can make a single penny worth more than an ounce of gold. So, to sum it all up, the 1982 Lincoln 1 cent penny is way more than just pocket change. It marks a crucial turning point in U.S. coinage history. Between the switch from copper to zinc, multiple design types, and rare transitional errors, the 1982 penny has become a hot item in the coin collecting world. Check your change jars, your drawers, even your car seats. You never know what you might find. And that's going to wrap it up for today's video. If you found this content helpful or interesting, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into coins, currency, and collectibles. Got a rare coin story or question? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time with more numismatic knowledge right here on the channel. We're diving deep into the fascinating story behind the 2020 Abraham Lincoln 1 cent penny, and why this small copper coin might be worth far more than just 1 cent. From the legacy of Abraham Lincoln to minting errors that make collectors go wild, this is a journey you don't want to miss. Let's start with a little history lesson. The Lincoln cent has been a staple in American currency since 1909, marking the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth. He was the first real person ever featured on a Regular issue United States coin, that's a big deal. Before that, coins usually featured symbolic figures like Liberty or Eagles, but Lincoln was the first American president to take the honor, and ever since his bearded profile has remained on the obverse side of the penny. Fast forward to 2020, and we still see Lincoln's iconic face, but with a modern design crafted by artist Victor David Brenner, whose initials VDB were controversially removed in 1909 due to public criticism, only to return discreetly later on the coin's reverse. Since 2010, the reverse has featured the Union Shield design, symbolizing the unity of the states. This is the same reverse used in 2020. Now let's talk about the composition. The 2020 penny is mostly zinc with a thin copper plating weighing about 2.5 grams. Unlike pre-1982 pennies, which were made primarily of copper, the modern penny only has a copper shell, making it cheaper to produce and much less valuable by metal content alone. So why are some 2020 Lincoln pennies selling for way more than face value? It all comes down to mint errors, rarity, and collector demand. If you have a 2020 penny sitting in your pocket or coin jar, you might be holding on to a mini jackpot without even knowing it. Here's where it gets exciting. There are a few versions and varieties of the 2020 penny produced across 3 mints: Philadelphia, which doesn't have a mint mark; Denver, marked with a small d; and San Francisco, which issues special proof coins marked with an S. The Philadelphia and Denver coins are standard circulation strikes, while San Francisco's are typically included in collector sets. Now, what really drives up the value are the errors. Let's talk about some specific examples that have sold for serious cash. One of the most talked about is the 2020 penny with a double die obverse, or DDO. This means the coin was struck with a slightly misaligned die, causing a doubling effect that's visible on the date, the word Liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust." These doubled elements can be very obvious or quite subtle, but either way, collectors will pay a premium depending on the severity and clarity of the doubling. In some rare cases, these DDO 2020 pennies have sold for $50 to $200 and sometimes more if in high mint state grades graded MS67 or higher by professional coin grading services like PCGS or NGC. They can sell for even more, particularly at auction or in online collector circles. Another variety worth mentioning is the off-center strike, where the design is misaligned on the blank planchet and a portion of the design is missing. This is another type of error that can make a coin rare and valuable. A 2020 penny with a major off-center error, especially one that still shows the full date and mint mark, could bring in $100 or more. Then we've got coins with die cracks, cuts, or even retained interior die breaks. These are technical terms for minting mistakes that leave raised lines or blobs on the coin surface, giving it an unusual look. The more dramatic the flaw, the more interest it gains from collectors. Some of these quirky error coins can go for $20 to $100 depending on eye appeal and how rare that particular error is. And don't forget about condition. A standard 2020 penny fresh out of circulation may not fetch much, but one in pristine uncirculated condition graded MS66 or better could be worth $20 to $75 just for its high quality. Some people go roll hunting, buying boxes of pennies from the bank and sorting through thousands just to find those perfect mint state gems. Now, if you're holding a proof 2020s penny, these are struck with a specially polished die and planchet and are only sold in proof sets. They feature a mirror-like finish and are struck at least twice for extra detail. While not super rare, these coins are sought after by collectors, especially in flawless condition. The value of a proof penny can range from $5 to $20 depending on market demand. So how do you know if your 2020 penny is worth more than face value? First, check for a mint mark below the year PED or S, then use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe to look closely at the date, lettering, and overall design. Look for signs of doubling, unusual marks, or striking errors. If you think you've got something special, consider submitting it to a professional grading service or taking it to a local coin dealer for evaluation. As for current market value, the typical circulated 2020 penny is still worth 1 cent, but mint state examples can sell for several dollars. Error coins can be worth hundreds And if you're lucky enough to find one of the ultra-rare error types with certification, you could be looking at a value well into the four figures, especially if it's in high grade and has collector buzz behind it. So next time you see a shiny new penny with Lincoln's face from 2020, don't just toss it aside, take a closer look, because you might be holding a piece of numismatic treasure. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful or interesting, drop a like, share it with fellow collectors, and make sure you subscribe for more rare coin videos. Comment below if you found any cool pennies, or if you want me to cover a specific coin in a future video. Until next time, happy collecting, and may your next coin roll bring you a hidden gem.